Good evening. Tonight, we begin with a sobering truth. While Russia postures for war, it cannot afford to open another front. The war in Ukraine has already exposed deep fractures within Russia, military desertions, collapsing morale, and an economy under relentless sanction. Yet despite these setbacks, the Kremlin moves forward with confidence. Why? Because they believe they won't have to fight NATO head-on. Instead, they're counting on NATO crumbling from within. This isn't speculation, it's strategy. Russia has spent years infiltrating Western democracies with propaganda, political influence, and disinformation. Its most powerful weapon isn't a missile, it's confusion. Divide the alliances, destabilize leadership, and let doubt do what war cannot. And right now, the gamble may be working. Key political figures in the United States, many aligned with President Trump, have questioned NATO's role. Some have proposed withdrawing support altogether. The result? A rattled alliance, unsure of its commitments and weakened by internal division. So what happens next? There are three potential outcomes. First, NATO could call Russia's bluff. By standing united and reaffirming their mutual defense pact, the alliance could force the Kremlin to de-escalate. Intelligence reports already suggest Russia's capacity to fight beyond Ukraine is severely diminished. NATO's resolve could be the antidote to Russian subversion. Second, Russia might escalate to nuclear conflict. But this, while terrifying, remains unlikely. A nuclear strike would invite global condemnation and catastrophic retaliation. Even Russia's own allies would struggle to defend such a move. The threat exists, but its cost is almost certainly too high. Third, and perhaps most dangerously, Donald Trump's return to power and alignment of the U.S. with Russian interests. Trump has repeatedly praised Putin, undermined NATO, and pursued foreign policy that echoes Kremlin talking points. Trump, unrestrained by a divided Congress, he could severely damage America's global standing. Yet even this scenario is not guaranteed. The American public has historically supported NATO. Intelligence agencies and military leaders continue to defend its value. Should Trump pursue a pro-Russia course, backlash may follow from both citizens and institutions. So where does this leave us? Let's take a moment to look inward. What has happened to the United States? How did the world's leading democracy find itself at this crossroads? The answers lie in systemic erosion, the decline of civic education, the rise of partisan media, and the flood of dark money into politics. Russia didn't invent America's vulnerabilities, but it did exploit them. Since 2016, Russian operatives have interfered in U.S. elections, amplified disinformation, and sown division online. Their success wasn't due to sophistication, it was due to our fragility. The cracks were already there. They just widened them. Today, misinformation rules the airwaves. Conspiracies dominate political platforms, and trust in democratic institutions continues to crumble. President Trump didn't create this environment, but he capitalized on it. His tactics mirrored those of authoritarian regimes, attacking the media, undermining the judiciary, and casting doubt on elections. And he didn't act alone. The Republican Party has embraced a model that welcomes foreign-linked influencers and pro-Russian ideologues. Many now hold roles in media, think tanks, and policy-making circles. This isn't theoretical. It's real. It's happening. Which brings us to the people. Perhaps the most painful truth is this. A significant portion of Americans have embraced authoritarian rhetoric, rejected shared reality, and aligned with forces that undermine their own democracy. Misinformation, tribalism, and fear have fractured the nation. We must ask ourselves, how did we get here? How did patriotic citizens come to cheer calls for violence, reject science, and embrace foreign propaganda? The answer is cultural decay. Years of grievance politics, unregulated media, and manipulated narratives have led us to this point. Once fringe movements are now mainstream. What was once considered sedition is now seen as strategy. And so we arrive at the final chapter. The arc of history has brought us to a point of no return. Trump's authoritarian rhetoric is now backed by authoritarian action. He's attacked judges, suggested weaponizing the DOJ, and undermined electoral integrity. Some of his allies have proposed laws to limit judicial independence. Others echo his calls for retribution. Meanwhile, foreign adversaries cheer, because a divided, distracted, and authoritarian America will not stand against tyranny. It will join it. So here's the truth. With Trump's return to power with unchecked authority, American democracy may not recover. The norms, the institutions, and the moral compass that guided this republic for centuries may disappear. This isn't alarmism. It's a warning, and the clock is ticking. In conclusion, Russia's power on the world stage has only grown because America allowed it. Trump's betrayal of our alliances, of our values, and of our Constitution has emboldened enemies and weakened friends. What BRICS could have been, a partner in economic growth, is now a geopolitical rival. What China could have been, a cautious competitor, is now a threat emboldened by American dysfunction. Trump is not a strong man. He is a frightened man, indebted, and compromised. He won't betray Russia, not because of loyalty, but because of fear. His family, his legacy, and his fortune are all tied to foreign interests. That leaves us, we, the people. We still hold the power, but we must open our eyes. We must understand what is at stake. Democracy does not die in darkness. It dies in denial. Let this be the moment where America wakes up, because the fight for democracy is not coming. It's here, and the outcome is up to us.